dear brother, my dear mind, it is through the grace of the spiritual master that we cross over this material world.
Make the teachings from the lotus mouth of the spiritual master one with your heart, and do not desire anything else. Attachment to the lotus feet of the spiritual master is the best means of spiritual advancement. By his mercy, all desires for spiritual perfection are achieved, fulfilled.
Given me the gift of transcendental vision is my Lord, birth after birth. By his mercy, divine knowledge is revealed within the heart, bestowing loving devotion and destroying ignorance. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character.
Hello.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Kara Mare.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya
Thoma Pinake Dayalu Jagatamachari. Patita Papanna Hetu Tavavatara. Sahasarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha Sahasarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha Acha Chukashi Jivaha Prabhu Lokanta
Lord Sri Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, kindly give your grace to me. In the whole of creation, there's none as merciful as you.
You descended just to save the fallen souls, O Lord. A soul as fallen as me is nowhere to be found.
O Lord Nityananda, ever in the joy of your love, kindly give your gracious glance as I am very sad.
Kindly give your grace. She awakened us from the Lord of Śrīmatī Śrīlekha. By the power of your grace, we maintain the service of Śrīla.
Bhata and Shri Gopal Bhata. O my Lord, Shri Lokanath Goswami.
Number 7, right?
Yes.
Please grant your blessings, O Lord Sri Srivasacharya, for the company of Sri Ramachandra Chakravarti. Nartam Das does pray.
Kindly give your grace, Srila Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur, manifestation of Śrī Gaura. This fallen servant begs the mercy of your associates. Haribol. Srila Nartam Das Thakur ki, Sāvaraṇa-Śrī-Gaura-pāda-padme, Prārthanā ki. Jai.
Srimad Bhagavad-gītā Upanishad ki jai. Śrīmatī Bhakti Lalitā Didi ki jai. All the devotees reading Gita tonight ki jai. Okay, so last week we finished Tāraka-brahma-yoga, which is chapter
8.
Was it chapter 8?
We didn't finish.
We did finish.
Wasn't it 8:19?
Wait, did we not finish? Oh my God!
We talked about finishing. Good one.
How did we got close? Wait, we got the 8. Hold on, we got 8:19. Is that right?
It's actually, it's really short.
Okay.
There's
Well, this is a really short chapter.
2, 5,
in
8.
2 weeks, we got to 19 verses. That's pretty. That's pretty.
Another kirtan before that. It's only 10 verses to read tonight.
I don't know. What time is it?
7:15.
I mean, I don't know.
Oh,
if we took 2 weeks to get to 19 verses.
We can end with a couple kirtans.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we do that. Okay, so
What is this?
chapter 8.
Revolution?
Oh yeah, that was the last verse that we read. Was the 4,320,000 years times 1,000 is how we should think about our days.
Yeah, that is amazing. Okay, so yeah.
In other words, 4,320,000,000,000 years is how you should view your days and your nights. Obviously, that's actually not right. But it's something you can grab onto. Well, I mean, because when you say infinite, I mean, you literally have no. It might as well. It has no meaning. When you say 4 billion, you still don't fully grasp it, but you at least know it's a big number. At least you know it's more than one life. Actually, if you can just think about your life as more than one life, that is very helpful. Right. Hare Krishna. So, Krishna is taking us through Tāraka-brahma-yoga, which is starting to understand the positivity of reality. Tāraka means protecting. Like, there's something sweet in Brahma, in divinity. Tāraka-brahma-yoga means you have to start to understand. Ultimately, what this chapter is pushing toward is to understand that there is a supersoul that's populating all the reality that you experience. There's the Lord populating every dimension of creation. And when you're coming into relationship with that, it's not just a relationship that is... What is the word? Like... no, but... like middling, I don't know what it is. It's like has not equipoise, but like can't find the word. But it's not a relationship that has neutrality. It's a relationship of positivity. And that's what Tāraka means. It means that there is a protector. You're going to understand that there is this Vasudev, there's a super soul that's behind every single component of reality, and that you're intrinsically in relationship with, in a positive way. So this chapter is moving us in a direction of positivity, and then chapter 9 is really, you can say, the first chapter where Krishna very, very cleanly comes out and says, I'm at the basis of reality. So, he's taken us through Brahma consciousness, which means the totality of reality as one thing with divinity as its basis. This chapter is, you can say, finishing out Vasudeva or Supersoul consciousness. So you have to understand that the Lord is in everything that exists. And Krishna is distinguishing himself as Bhagavan within this chapter because he refers to Supersoul as he in the third person in this chapter. And then the next chapter, he's going to actually come very, very clean and say, actually it's me at the basis. So there's Brahma conception, Paramatma conception, which is chapter 8, and then moving toward the meat, the real essence of the Gita in chapter 9, which we're going toward. Okay. We read chapter 18, so we're going to be on 19. Verse 19.
Bhutagrama saevayam bhutva bhutva praliyate ratriyagame vasa partha prabhavatyaha ragame parastasmatu bhavonyo vyakto vyakta sanatana yasarveshu bhuteshu na satyu na vinashyati.
Do you want to begin, Bhakti Lalitā?
O Prārthanā, the multitude of beings are helplessly subject to the law of karma, born again and again. With the coming of Lord Brahma's night, they are absorbed, and with the coming of his day, they are again born. But superior to this unmanifest Lord Brahma, there is another unmanifest, and that existence is beginningless and transcendental to the perception of the living beings. He is not destroyed when all beings are destroyed.
Avyakto kshara ityuktas
Yeah.
What is unmanifest?
Let's see the Sanskrit word, because usually akshara is used for unmanifest. In this word, it means it's said avyakta. But I think in the next verse it's going to be called akshara. Sorry. So there's there's two levels of unmanifest, and unmanifest in this sense means unperceptible to us. But also, so Krishna is saying there is Lord Brahma, who can manifest and unmanifest material nature, right? But Krishna is saying that is sourced in another unmanifest, which is superior to it, that even Lord Brahma is being sourced from, right? The transcendent spiritual energy is where it's moving to.
Isn't the word akashic also like from something like that? Because it has akasha.
Akshara.
Akshara.
Yeah. Akasha is a different thing, but that's similar. It's another layer of consciousness within this universe, in which all the things that are to be known within this universe is sort of living. Oh my God. Sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Should I say that again? Okay. Sorry.
21.
Avyakto kshara ityuktas tamahu paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mama purusha sapara partha bhaktya labhyastananyaya yasyantashthani bhutani yena sarvam idam tatam yatra kale tvanavritam avritam chaiva yogina prayatayanti tam kalam vakshami bharatarshava.
He is said to be the unmanifest and the invincible, proclaimed by the Upanishads, to be the supreme goal, reaching whom one does not return to this world. Know that destination to be my supreme abode. O Partha, I, the Supreme Person, within whom all beings are situated, and by whom this whole universe is pervaded, am attainable only by exclusive devotion. O Bharatarshava, now I shall describe to you the circumstances in which the yogis attain either liberation or rebirth at the moment of death.
So, Krishna has been referring to the Supreme Person as Purusha, and sometimes he uses the pronoun he throughout this chapter, and then finally in this verse he says, where is it?
Aham.
Yeah, aham.
O Partha. Right.
So we should have very impressed upon our intelligence that there is personality behind every layer of reality, the ones that we can interact with and perceive, and the ones that we cannot interact with and perceive. And that is divine personality. Divine personality is behind reality. That has to be impressed within our intelligence. And as we evaluate a situation, to leave that out, now you're going to be screwed up. You have to know God is behind it, right? And then you can evaluate things properly. Whether someone's speaking to you, whether some experience is passing over the field of your consciousness, everything. It all has to have God behind it. I'm trying to... Chaos to cosmos, yeah. The second verse of Guru Maharaj's thesis in Prapanna-jīvanāmṛtam is... oh my God, I'm not remembering the Sanskrit right now. But Guru Maharaj is essentially saying these things. What's the first word of that verse? Anyone? The first word of the verse of the second part of Guru Maharaj's this Prapanna-jīvanāmṛtam. Right there. I don't see it. Oh, there it is, Jerry. I'm just going to read this because this is important to understand this point. This is the point being made in this chapter, and it's a point that Guru Maharaj emphasizes that this is jnana bhakti. It means this is the way to use your intelligence within bhakti. Sarvantaryamitam drishtva hare sambandhato kile apratak bhavata drishti prapatir jnana bhaktita. Sarva antaryamitam drishtva. That means in everything you should see antaryami, the indwelling soul. Means the super soul. Drishtva means to see. See the super soul in everything. Harehi sambandhato akile. In everything you should see relationship to Hari. Apratak bhavata drishti. Pratak means pieces. Apratak means unified. Unified field. There is a unified field. There's one reality. Apratak bhavata drishti. You should see yourself in relationship to the one reality. Prapatir jnana bhaktita. This is how to use your intelligence within surrender. It means there should never be a moment where you do not feel that you're interacting with divinity. Everything is in relation to Him. He is populating the reality of everything. And it is a unified reality. It's not a piecemeal reality. Apratak bhava, which is a term from Ramanujacharya that Guru Maharaj liked. Okay.
It is not a what reality?
It is not a piecemeal reality. It's not like there's... Like a lot of times people will have an idea, for example, that there's a part of reality that doesn't have Krishna in it, and it's called Maya. And then there's another part of reality that you need to go to. that has Krishna in it. That's not apratak-bhava. That's Schizophrenia-bhāva. That's like, there's like a part of reality that doesn't have God in it.
Which one? 26, isn't it? 24? 24. All three of those.
Upon leaving the body, the knowers of Brahman attain Brahman via the path of fire, light, day, the waxing moon, and the sun's northern ascent. Upon leaving the body, the karma yogi reaches the heavenly plane via the path of smoke, night, the waning moon, and the sun's southern ascent, but returns to undergo rebirth. These two paths of the world, the bright and the dark, are accepted as being perpetual. By the bright path, liberation is attained, and by the dark path, one is reborn.
Yogi muhyati kashtana tasma sarveshu kareshu yogayuto pavarjuna vedeshu yadeshu tapashu dāneshu tattva pranam pradishtam atyeti tatsarvamidam viditva yogi param sthanam upaiti chadyam.
O Partha, the devotee Bhakti Yogi, who knows those bright and dark paths, is not deluded. Therefore, O Arjuna, be ever fixed in transcendental, exclusive devotion. Thus, knowing of my glories and the glories of devotion for me, the devoted soul, surpassing the scripturally cited fruits of piety, achieved by chanting the Vedas and performing sacrifice, austerity, and charity, attains my supreme holy abode.
There was a group of ODS preachers at the base of a trail that I was running on a few months ago, and they were like, "What is something that's important to you?" And they had this whiteboard, and they were just writing down what people liked. And they were like, "I love my dog," or "I love it." And they were like, "What do you want to say?" And I was saying "Oh, what's actually something cool?" And I just like this part where he says in a few places, never give up, sacrifice, austerity, and charity. And so I said that. They were just like, "What?" And they were like, "That's the coolest thing we heard." They were so happy. And I was like, "Oh, it means something in them." I mean, they're doing a 2-year sacrifice, so they have some feeling for it. But it was just this really kind of fun interaction. It's a nice meditation. Krishna says, never give up sacrifice, austerity, or charity. Like, you kind of can't go wrong. And it's funny because there's this strange notion of the ego all the time. Like, if I sacrifice and I give of myself, I'll be depleted and I'll be less. That's sort of like some strange default. Like, I have like a certain amount of energy. It's super finite. And if I give some of it, I'm going to have less of it at the end. And like, things are going to go down. And I just need to like shore it all up and like hoard energy and stuff and like protect myself for some certainty. But the universe is very peculiar and strange, actually, in that sense. It does not verify this thought process of the ego. And, like, this idea that, like, joy is going to come from hoarding on reality is never verified, right? And, like, what's very beautiful and, like, attractive in terms of, like, a gravitation in someone is, like, you see someone who's living with great sacrifice, and you're astonished, and it's beautiful, and it will inspire you. And anytime you hear a story that has any of these 3 qualities inside of it, you'll feel some resonance, right? And it's like you could really say, like, think about all the fairy tales, right? There's like a codex of all the major stories of the world, and they have like themes, and they're all labeled out with numbers, and then they find them all over the world with the same kind of themes. And you could say like a huge section of like the fairy tales of the world are a person goes into the forest, which is definitely symbolic, right? Goes into the wild, meets some type of supernatural creature, and they ask for something. And what they ask for reveals who the character of the person is, right? Whether they're generous or whether they're super selfish. And generally the person that asks for something that's really small, they have some kind of like very strange circumstance, because fairy tales aren't like super linear. And then it's usually like the youngest son who's like not loved by the family, and the dad doesn't leave him the inheritance, and he shares like his little piece of bread with this like supernatural creature, and something amazing happens. And so there's like this notion like embedded in some of the oldest stories in the world that's coming down, right? They're surviving all these cataclysms, they're surviving all these things. They're saying something is occurring. And I mean, like, even just simple stories that make their way towards like Western culture, even like Cinderella, where she's slaving after all of the family and stuff like that. There's some sacrifice that's happening, and you start to empathize with that person that's exhibiting some sacrifice. The refinement, of course, in Bhagavad-gītā of like sacrifice whom and for what, those are like the next level, but at least in the beginning you're starting to go, this idea of sacrifice is so profound that I might be in danger of actually having a little bit of like a realization on the nature of this place that I landed in. And it's so interesting to see, like, never give up these austerity, and it's funny because they're all kind of related to each other, you could say, the 3 feelings, right? Because charity is like some feeling of mercy and benefic giving. Austerity is some level of tolerating, and like I always associate austerity with like some deeper intent of purpose, right? Which is overriding something else, right? And so you're going like, this is so useful, actually. And it's very practical. Because, you know, all of these things, like you could say tonight you're performing hopefully an austerity of the mouth and an austerity of the mind. So many different kinds of things like that. And they actually make your heart feel light. That's the amazing thing. Like, to put it super simple, you know, like it's not only a nice practice, but there's some lightness inside of it. So, anyways.
I heard one definition of sannyas, to voluntarily inconvenience oneself for the sake of spiritual advancement, spiritual evolution. That I think Swami Mahārāj Prabhupada mentioned that.
And the voluntary part is like the crux of the whole thing. Right? Because the same type of thing inflicted on you makes you bitter, makes you crazy, right? Has to be, right? Because you can say, like, you know, the theme that I throw myself towards this thing right? Which means what? A refinement of intention, right? Same thing, like, clean the temple room, be like raging that no one else cleaned it. Clean the temple room and feel like, wow, I'm so fortunate I'm somehow or other in this unique, right? Same physical action is happening. One person may be having a realization, one person may be like accruing like a kind of complex relationship with the others around them, what to speak of other internal thought processes, right? So it's like that voluntariness, that's the crux of really, you could say, everything in our lives. And to be so intentional and then to go, oh, this situation came here, like, I welcome that. That's like yoga.
One thing on that topic. This particular wording, this group of words where it says sacrifice, yajña, austerity, tapa, and charity, Dāna, these three things should never be abandoned. Krishna says it many times in the Gita. And there are three things Krishna says you should always abandon. And those three things are vitārāga, which means attachment, bhaya, which means fear, and krodha, which means anger. And if you think about it, those three auspicious things, good things, right? Sacrifice, austerity, and charity are the cure for attachment, fear, and anger. And it's a very beautiful, constant reminder in life. Because we have this, not only do we have this sort of egotistic being inside of us that desires security and comfort, but we have a pressing, blaring message that's being given to us by all aspects of society that's actually what you need, right? You need security and comfort. And here's all the ways that you can accomplish it, and all the multitudes of ways of the dimensions of it that you're not fully satisfying. But the idea that you're going to be happy in sacrifice, that's an awesome idea, right? The idea that tapasya means austerity, means do hard things. The idea that you are going to be satisfied outside of comfort, that's an awesome idea. That's a freeing idea, right? And the idea that charity, that there's a higher type of refined happiness in giving rather than taking and exploiting. All these things have to be known within you. They're interesting theories to start off with, but they have to be moved into scientifically within your life and see what that means. What does that hold in it? What does, sacrifice, austerity, and charity hold within them? And is there an actual way of living where, these kind of overwhelming ghosts, you can say, that are taking over your soul of attachment, fear, and anger are subsided? So, a beautiful thing. Okay, we made it to the last verse. Should we start chapter 9? Or?
Yes.
Okay, let's start chapter 9. So we heard Tāraka-brahma-yoga, remember? Sanghitayam Vyasatyam Bhīṣma-parva Srimad Bhagavad-gītā Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Tāraka-brahma-yoga Namashtamo Dhyaya. End of chapter 8, the Merciful Absolute, from the conversation of Sri Krishna and Arjuna in Srimad Bhagavad-gītā Upanishad, the yoga scripture of transcendental knowledge, and Bhīṣma-parva, Sri Mahabharata, the holy scripture revealed by Srila Vyasadeva in 100,000 verses. Okay, so Tāraka-brahma-yoga, understanding of the Supersoul, that divinity underpins all the experiential reality that we find ourselves in. And that you should start to see God in every circumstance and behind everything that you're in. And not just God in a neutral way, but that something sweet, merciful, graceful, and protective of you is behind the world that you find yourself in. To find that positive perspective even within difficulty. Very beautiful idea. And then chapter 9, where you can say, Krishna starts to reveal more clearly. Raja-guhya-yoga. Raja means royal. Guhya means secret or hidden. The king of secrets, you can say, maybe, is how to translate that. And a beautiful translation here, the hidden treasure of devotion. So, what Krishna is saying here at the time when this was spoken 5,000 years ago is extremely revolutionary. Nobody knew this, what is about to be spoken in this chapter. So, really amazing chapter, and we can try to worship it. What time is it right now? 7:40. Okay, great. Okay, so let's start Raja-guhya-yoga on page 150. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guhyatamam Pravakshamyana suyave Jnanam vijnana sahitam Yajñatva mokshase shubhat Raja vidya raja guhyam Pavitram idam uttamam Pratyakshabagamam dharmyam Susukham kartuma vyayam Ashraddhana purusha Dharmasyasya parantapa Aprapya mam nivartante Mrityu sangsara vartvani.
It's actually your turn to read. Okay, that's okay. I'm still furthering. That's all right. Welcome. The Supreme Lord said, I now reveal to you, who are without envy, this most hidden treasure of knowledge of pure devotion, with direct realization of me, knowing which you will be liberated from inauspiciousness, from all that is opposed to devotion. Know this to be the King of Secrets, the King of Knowledge, supreme, pure, and imperishable. It is known by direct realization, by one eager to serve me. It is the perfection of religion, and very easy to practice. O conqueror of the enemy, men who have no faith in this hidden treasure of devotion to me are unable to reach me, and so they remain wandering on the path of death in this material world. I asked Śrīpād Mahārāj about verse 2, the very easy to practice. I was like, are you sure? And one thing that he told me that was really helpful was that, on the path you encounter kind of painful purification. You might encounter temptation. You might encounter pain and purification. But what he told me is it's easy in the sense that if you stay on the path, then your progress is more or less guaranteed. Well, not more or less. Your progress is guaranteed, and that it's kind of automatic. Like if Krishna sees you trying, then your progress is kind of automatic. Like he'll take the heavy lifting for you. I thought that was really cool. I mean, we haven't read the chapter yet, so Krishna's sort of previewing it and saying this is easy. Of course, he's told that to Arjuna before, which is when he's like, yeah, just control your mind, Arjuna. And Arjuna's like, what?
What about that?
Yeah.
Artificial. Like devotion is natural to the soul, but we have this disease of if I'm getting everything and if I'm in control of everything and if everything is serving me and doing what I want, then I'm going to be happy. But that's a kind of madness. But actually devotion is so normal. So in that sense it's not artificial. It's easy in that way.
Well, because there's verses coming up where Krishna is about to say like something like Yat Karoshi, Yadashnashi, Yajjuhoshi, Dadati. Basically means Yat Karoshi means whatever you're doing. Yadashnashi, if you're eating, right? Like, he's essentially going to say, whatever you're doing in your life, try to do it for me. In that sense, it's very easy. Because if you read, like, for example, what Dhruva did, like, it's like really hard, right? He starts, regulating his prana, like eating once every 3 days, once a week, once every 30 days, like, etc., right? He's like exploring deep into the subtle bodies of yoga and then doing pranayama and getting all his energy. I mean, these are like extremely difficult tapasyas where he's, like learning to meditate in that way. And Krishna's saying, actually live your life and start to live it with me. Start to offer the things you're doing to me. Like this very natural, simple way of life, of actual connection within the moments of your day. Which is, in a relative sense, like quite straightforward and quite easy. And also the absolute truth.
That's what Srila Prabhupada's translation is.
Yeah.
It's joy. It brings real joy.
Yeah. That was the one that really threw me off. Like, joyful. I don't know about that.
No, but it's amazing because then you're like, all I have to do is remember Krishna. Like it's just like, whoa. You start actually doing that and you start going, my God, my mind is all over the place.
Like it's a matter of perspective, right? So like that's what he says. Like for the person who's bound, like the material energy is endless and ephemeral, right? And that word ephemeral is such a cool word because it's like kind of foggy and twisting and ungraspable, right? You never get to the end of it. Endless and ephemeral. They say material energy is endless and ephemeral. So like you're not going to get your way with your mind and like kind of like untrap yourself from like a bound consciousness, unbound yourself. But then it says for someone who's making some progress, all of that endless and ephemeral energy becomes like small, like the drop of water in a calf's hoof print. And like it's a matter of vantage point, right? So like the thing that's super, super difficult for you, from a different vantage point, we can laugh and say, oh, my Lord was so kind to me and it was so small. And he's like carefully carrying me through like such rudimentary lessons. I feel almost like humiliated. It's a matter of like perspective, right? For the surrendered soul, like because there's no imposition on reality, there's really no problem. For like the egomaniac, everything's a problem, right? And so it is. And then I was going to think one of Bhakti Lalita's favorite verses that I happen to remember, which I have to just have her share it. Guru Maharaj quotes in Prapanna-jīvanāmṛtam about when the practitioner on the path realizes, they finally come to the realization that they are the cause of their own.
Vidyate Hridaya Grantis starts Jato Shraddha Matkatasu Nirvana Sarvakarmasu Veda Dukat Makan Kaman Parityaje Pya Anishvara. Basically, Srila Śrīdhar Maharaj collected this from the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's Lord Krishna speaking, saying that for one who is selfless and penitent, denouncing their inability to abandon mundane enjoyment, despite realizing it to be the embodiment of suffering, but that soul goes on with all the practices and principles of devotion faithfully, going on knowing that the world has a stranglehold on them, but pursuing Krishna consciousness with faith and devotion. Krishna says, in the heart of that kind of devotee, I rise like the sun and disperse all the ignorance. The darkness of ignorance gets dispelled, and all the binds of ties of the heart get broken off, and all doubts are slashed, and all mundane action is exhausted for that earnestly aspiring devotee.
So amazing. It's like really amazing. Such a cool verse.
It's in Prapanna-jīvanāmṛtam, words of nectar from the Supreme Lord.
There's also a chapter in Sermons 2 where Mahārāj goes through all 4 of those verses from Bhagavatam. It's from Bhagavad-gītā. But there's 4 of them in a row that essentially mean what you just said. And it's very, very beautiful as he goes through that progression. So, very beautiful.
Sorry. It's so lovely.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Yeah, number 4.
We made it into 3 verses.
What time is it now?
It's 10 to 8.
Okay, let's go.
Maya tatam idam sarvam jagadavyakamurtina machstani sarvabhutani nachaham deshavavashtitaha nacha machstani bhutani ashyame yogamaishvaryam bhuta prinnacha mobhusto mamatma bhuta bhavana Yata kasha sthito nityam vayu sarvatra gomahan tata sarvani bhutani machta nitya padaraya.
This entire universe is pervaded by me in my unmanifest form, and all beings are situated in me, yet I am not in them. Again, they are not in me. Behold my supreme mystical power of inconceivable oneness and difference, Achintya Veda Veda. I myself am the mainstay and origin of all beings, but I am not in them. Know that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, similarly, all beings rest in me.
There's a reason it's called Bhagavad-gītā, because it's the song of the Lord. It has like such a poetic feeling. Some of these verses, like, as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky. So it's just such a beautiful, like, expression. It's just amazing. And the fact that it rhymes in its home language is even more astonishing. 7. Sarva bhutani kaunteya prakritim yanti mamikam kalpakshaye punastani kalpado vishrijamyaham prakritim svam avasabhya vishrijami punah punah Bhutagramam imam kritsnam avasham prakrite vashat nacha mamtani karmani nipadnanti dhananjaya udashina vadashinam ashaktam tishu karmashu.
We're on 7, right? O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all beings are merged in the material nature of 3 modes, which is my external potency, and at the beginning of a new millennium, I make them manifest again. I control my potency of material nature to repeatedly manifest the multitude of beings who are helplessly controlled by their natures. O conqueror of wealth, I remain detached and situated as neutral in the cosmic manifestation, sustenance and withdrawal, and these functions cannot bind me.
Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagadvi parivartate avajananti mang mudha manushim tanum ashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram moghasha mogha karmano mogha jnana vichetasaha rakshasim asurim chaiva prakritim mohinim shritaha. Verse 10, O Kaunteya, ordained by me, my illusory potency produces this universe of moving and stationary beings. Thus it is manifest over and over again. Not knowing the transcendental nature of my form of human feature, ignorant persons blaspheme me, the Supreme Lord of all beings, considering me a mere mortal. Their hopes, acts, knowledge, and thoughts, all in vain. Such persons acquire the ignorant and demonic nature, which leads to their downfall. Hare Krishna. Intense.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Could you explain, please, what is meant by my illusory potency? Why is it illusory?
So, it's interesting. Sometimes this word is actually becoming quite common. You know, the word Maya, which generally means illusion. But there's an understanding of the freedom of the soul. So, the soul has freedom to look at the world as an object to be enjoyed, or to look at the world as having a divine source, and to look at the world as a thing to be contributed to, given to, offered to, because it has its source within divinity. So one of them is the actual truth, and the other one is not true. So when you're something that is an object for yourself to exploit, then you are in illusion. How can a soul not see reality? Well, that's the illusory potency. So if you want to exploit, then the capacity for you to view the world that way, that conscious sense. The potency of the illusory potency is the potency that allows you to be in illusion. Right, because everything has to come from God ultimately. So when you want to be an exploiter, you have to have an illusion that's backing up that exploitation, right? I mean, think about how insane it is at a certain perspective. How you come into this world going like, and you immediately have desires, and then you're immediately stressed out that maybe those desires won't come true, and then you immediately have all these things you don't want, and then you immediately have fears that those things you don't want are going to occur, right? You're coming in this state of madness. And even if all your stuff you so-called want comes true, you have the 3-car garage or whatever it is that you just decided that you wanted, you're just screaming like a missile toward a grave. What? You know what I mean? It's kind of how could you actually think about life in that way? Well, that's kind of an illusion, right? You're just like a donkey chasing after the next big carrot, and you eat one, and you're immediately that one looks really good. And you're running after the next one. You're not actually seeing reality, and you're not even actually seeing yourself. You're not even watching yourself not be satisfied by the carrots that you just ate. And you're immediately thinking, well, that probably wasn't a great one. I'm going to regret this next one. You know what I mean? It takes some type of illusion. But there's a willingness on our part to be subject to that illusion. Right? So there's an ability, if the soul so chooses, to be totally deluded. And that's called the illusory potency.
The madness of pretending what we are not.
He sometimes even defines the word Maya as what is not.
Yeah.
Or what is measured, which I think is kind of an interesting thing. You know, there's these different expressions of like how when you're fully covered by something, how do you express that you're covered by something, right? It's really like Plato's cave is just the perfect example, right? Where it's like, bro, there's this thing and it radiates heat and it's warm and it is bright out there. And he's like, oh, great, like I'll bring my torch. You know, that's like really like that. This realization on the nature of like how ignorant we are is there's a reason it survived all of these thousands of years, because it's so poignant in like its expression of ignorance. And so there's all of these kind of, like you could say, you know, like that word, the gospel, I find it such an interesting word because it translates to the good news. And you could say that saints are concerned with trying to confer the good news. And as they move through different like cultures and they move through different times and geographies and places, they're trying to like express to these different kinds of people maybe like a slightly less bound perspective of like, you know, like I know you guys are doing that in this village, but like, you know, you could say even like most of the rituals in Europe, you know, it's like, okay, you guys like to give each other gifts on like the cold part of the year, like try to remember the Lord. Like you guys like these bunnies at this time of the year, like try to remember the Lord. You know, like it doesn't really, it's just like this kind of like call to remembrance, which you can say is it's in the 9 processes of devotion, is remembrance, is a practice. Why would remembrance be a practice? Well, because there's a state of forgetfulness. A state of forgetfulness infers there's almost like a knowingness. That's why that word surrender in Sanskrit, Sharanagati, translates to coming to home. So you're not going to a foreign place to yourself ultimately. That's the strangest thing, is when you have a realization, it will be like something organic, you could say. Like it was always there. It's like it's intrinsic. It's built in. Like so, you hear these like sentences where people like, you know, they're really battling with certain subjects, and they should be battled with, right? Like, well, is there really any free will, right? And then like our teacher's answer is free will is intrinsic to who you are, to the soul. It's free will is intrinsic to the soul, right? And then we have to ponder what that means, because we're not actually like the controller of everything in our environment. So like how much free will are we really exerting? And sometimes it's very restrictive feeling. And then what does that mean in my real life? What am I connecting with? And so like you can see these different words. They're trying to like unbind us and express these things to someone who's bound, right? You could say like you're from a state of exploitation. You're hearing of a world of dedication, and then that ideal is waking something in you that feels intrinsic. It's very like almost it's like beautiful and peculiar, you know, at the same time. And so that's part of like when we're going like, well, what is illusion? When one layer of illusion is relieved from us, it feels very obvious and clear. Right? But in the last state that we were in, where that thing was like consuming us, really, we can say. And it's like, now we can understand where this idea of like the name guru means heavy, like the mountain, right? So the first, that book, Sri Guru and His Grace, which is like one of the books on the shelf, like the first name that was kind of given to our teacher, he said, Guru, heavy like the mountains, or heavy like the Himalaya. Because it is a realization on the nature of the teacher, because what's happening is our mind is literally getting like smacked around as if we're in like a washing machine, right? All of our desires, they're like not even in line, right? That's like, they're like competing with each other, against each other. They're not even like organized. Yeah, they're not coherent desires. They're disparate. And there's almost like an AI auto, like we don't even know, like, why do I want that thing versus the, you know, like it's just this kind of like chaos that's going on. And so this idea of guru, it means like this, there's some kind of mercy that's moving through the environment, right? Mahaprabhu, one definition, one expression of our teacher about him is infinity and distribution, which is a very amazing kind of realization. It says the nature of reality is dynamic, moving, full of affection for you, right? And then you can say, oh, actually, and then even deeper than that, the environment is full of affection for you and is pulsing with messaging for you. And the more that you uncover your own layers of illusion, we get to actually read what the environment is telling us and come into deeper and deeper connection with what's going on. There's very amazing verses where it says, and for those who can see, they will see like profound meaning, whether the wind is blowing the grass to one side or the other. And which is such a beautiful, but it seems like infinitesimally negligible kind of idea. And then they're going, oh, the whole environment is actually fully communicating and urging us actually to a much deeper place in reality. And then that place is actually where you're more nourished, so to speak. Yeah, it is. So it's like this kind of amazing tension, and it's all in consciousness. I hope that's helpful. Yeah, it's like an endlessly rough proposition on reality.
I thought the definition of that which can be measured as Maya, I thought that was interesting because in accounting and finance, there's a saying, that which can be measured can be controlled. And that's like a perfect expression, from a place of illusion. Yeah.
Wow, that is...
So this idea of measurement is very interesting because what Guru Maharaj is saying, the nature of reality is that every single component of reality has infinite possibility. And we are seeing it as finite and something that we can then, as you said, control. So when the minute you measure something, Guru Maharaj is saying, you are buying into illusion. Because now you're fixing it at a point, and then at that point you can control it. But actually its source and its nature is infinite. And then that, you could say, Guru Maharaj's, you could say, philosophical translation of the theory of relativity is that the fact that something exists means it contains huge energetic possibilities, right? That's what Guru Maharaj is saying. And it's a very beautiful translation of E = MC squared, right? It means look, that little thing that you're seeing and you're kind of seeing as something that's just this is like this. It's like, dude, do you understand how many E = MC squared is in this? It's an inconceivable amount of energy that makes up everything, right? And that's still limiting to what it really is in a quantum sense because it can be anything, right? And again, these are all just tiny perspectives on the infinite because we're trying to use words to capture something of which points to the infinite. But that whole idea of now you're measuring it, now you're limiting it, now it's something that you feel like you can manipulate. I think that's a really nice insight.
Consider this because we all tend to put everything within a manageable box, and even spiritual life, as we get to a particular level of conception, according to who is your teacher, then you want to put that in a measurable thing, and Krishna's he's saying in the beginning of the Gita all these things, these rules and regulations, do this, do that, do that, do that, and all the Veda is so many rules to help us to get forward from wherever we are. And then Krishna says, why don't you just forget all that? That came from me, and I'm telling you, forget all that, because I'm the center of all existence. I'm the absolute reality. And actually, though you can't see it, every single thing is exactly where it has to be to serve the center. And then everything is served. I'm the absolute reality. And I am affectionate to you. And that's just That's the beginning of the conclusion.
Okay, so guys, we beautiful. Okay, so that we will stop for today. We finished on verse 12. Just quickly on 11 and 12, Krishna saying, this world I can appear in also. God can appear in this world. And you shouldn't mistake that to be just a normal being. And that is also a very deep understanding, that we have to understand that even within the sphere of our perception, the Lord can appear for His own purpose. So that is where we'll stop chapter 9. It just gets better and better. It's an amazing chapter. And we will start on 13 next week on page 154. Okay, Jai Srimad Bhagavad-gītā Upanishad ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Śrīla Bhakti Sundar Govindari Goswami Mahārāj ki Jai. Om Vishnupada Śrīla Bhakti Rakshaka Śrīdhar Dev Goswami Mahārāj ki Jai. Rupananga Guru Varga ki Jai. Jai Śrīmatī Bhakti Lalitā Didi ki Jai. And everyone putting their consciousness and sacrifice toward reading Gita tonight. Ki Jai. Go Ramanande Hari.
Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhattara Gunata Sri Jiva Gopala Vata Dasa Raghunath Echai Goshai Kori Charana Vandan Jaha Hoite Vignana Savista Puran Echai Goshai Jamu Itaradas Sāvaraṇa-Śrī-Gaura-pāda-padme Mora Panchagras Tadera Charana Sevi Bhakta Saneva Janame Janame More Avilas Echai Gosai Jave Bhaje Koilavas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman Guru Vaishnava Pada Padma Koriyas Hari Nama Sankirtana Kohe Narottama